Tips to improve your English pronunciation. Pause the video to repeat phrases or words. Record your voice and compare it with the video. Actively listen, identifying familiar words or phrases. That morning started like any other. I was walking through the city, enjoying the fresh air and the quiet streets. I had no special plans and was simply taking my time, looking at the buildings and people passing by. Suddenly, I noticed a group of foreigners standing on the corner. They looked confused, checking their phones and pointing in different directions. I slowed down, curious about what was happening. When I got closer, one of them smiled and asked me something in English. I understood a few words, but not the full question. My heart raced a little because my English was not very strong. Still, I could see they needed help. I tried to guess what they wanted and said, "Can I help you?" They looked relieved and showed me a photo of a famous place in the city. I recognized it immediately and nodded, even though I wasn't fully confident. Somehow, I felt responsible for helping them. They asked if I could show them the way, not just explain it. I hesitated for a moment, unsure if I should agree. But they looked friendly and hopeful, so I decided to try. "Okay, I walk with you," I said. The group smiled and thanked me many times. I felt a small rush of excitement. I had never been a guide before, but there I was, suddenly leading a group of tourists through my own city. It felt strange, but also fun. As we started walking, I tried to speak English, even though I only knew simple phrases. I said things like, "This street is old, and many people come here." Sometimes they didn't understand me, and I didn't understand them, but we laughed together. I used my hands to point and show things, hoping it helped. Every time I managed to say something correctly, they reacted with big smiles, which made me feel more confident. I realized I could communicate, even if my English wasn't perfect. By the time we reached the main avenue, something inside me had changed. I didn't feel nervous anymore. I felt proud. Without planning it, I had become a tour guide for a day. I didn't know many words, but I used what I had. And somehow it worked. As we continued walking deeper into the city, I felt excited for what would come next. Maybe I would learn something new. Maybe they would too. All I knew was that this unexpected morning was turning into an adventure I never imagined. As we continued walking, I realized I needed to explain more than just directions. The group wanted to know about the city, its buildings, and its history. My English was basic, so I started using simple words like old, big, famous, and beautiful. When words didn't come, I used my hands to draw shapes in the air. I pointed at statues, traced the outline of roofs, and even pretended to hold a book when talking about the library. Surprisingly, they understood most of what I tried to say. Sometimes, I added small details even if my vocabulary wasn't enough. I said things like, "This place, very important," or "Here, many people, long time ago." The group listened with interest, nodding and smiling. When I made mistakes, they didn't look annoyed. Instead, they laughed softly in a friendly way, as if cheering for me. Their reactions made me feel more relaxed. I wasn't afraid of sounding wrong anymore. I just wanted to communicate. But the funniest moment happened when I tried to explain a local market. I wanted to say, "You can buy fresh fruit here," but I mixed up the words. I ended up saying, "You can buy fast fruit here." They looked confused for a second, then burst into laughter. One of them asked, "Fast fruit? Does it run away?" I turned red but laughed with them. To fix it, I made a dramatic scene of holding fruit and pretending to smell it. Finally, they understood and repeated, "Fresh fruit," while still giggling. That moment felt like a small turning point. Even though I had made a big mistake, their reaction showed me it was okay. I didn't need perfect English to connect with them. Humor became part of our communication, and it made everything easier. I started being more creative, using expressions like, "This is like a big house for art," or "People come here for happy time." They didn't judge me, they adapted to my level, and I adapted to theirs. By the time we reached the next street, I felt brave enough to talk more. Every small success gave me confidence. Every mistake became a shared joke. The group wasn't just following me, they were learning about the city through my simple words, and I was learning English through their reactions. And even though I didn't know it yet, these little moments were preparing me for much bigger challenges ahead. As we walked deeper into the city, something unexpected began to happen. The group noticed I was trying hard to speak English, so they started teaching me new words along the way. One of them pointed at a fountain and said, "This is water flow." I repeated the words slowly, and they smiled. Another tourist showed me the word square when we reached an open plaza. I felt like the whole city had turned into a living classroom, and each step brought a new lesson. Every time I used a new word, they encouraged me. When I described a church as very big, one of them taught me the word tall, and another added tower. I tried again, saying, "This is a tall tower church," and they clapped as if I had solved a puzzle. It felt strange but wonderful. I wasn't just guiding them, they were guiding me too. I realized that learning English while walking and pointing at real things helped me remember much faster than studying from a book. At one moment, we stopped near a small bridge. I wanted to explain that the river was calm, but I didn't know the right word. Before I could say anything, one of them said, "Try this word, peaceful." I repeated it, "The river is peaceful." Hearing myself say it out loud gave me a wave of confidence. They nodded proudly, and I felt taller, as if I had just unlocked a new level in a game. Every new word made me want to speak more. Soon, our roles shifted without us noticing. Instead of just following me through the streets, they began to trust my explanations, even when my English was simple. I explained a statue's story using basic words and a few gestures, but now I added new vocabulary like history, culture, and old tradition. Their eyes lit up, and one of them said, "You explain very well." I knew it wasn't perfect, but hearing that made me feel warmer inside. It showed me I was improving in real time. By the time we reached the city park, I realized how much I had changed in just a few hours. My fear of speaking English was fading, replaced by excitement. I wasn't worried about mistakes anymore. I felt connected to the group, and they seemed more relaxed with me too. It was as if every new word built a small bridge between us. And as we continued walking, I felt ready for bigger challenges, without knowing that the hardest one was still ahead. When we reached the old fortress in the center of the city, I felt my confidence suddenly drop. This was one of the most important historical places, and many tourists came here to learn about its past. I knew the basic story in my own language, but explaining it in English felt impossible. As the group looked around with excitement, I felt my hands get sweaty. They turned to me, waiting for my words, and my mind went completely blank. All the English I had learned earlier seemed to disappear. I opened my mouth and tried to speak. This place, very strong history? The sentence sounded wrong, and I knew it. I looked at the walls of the fortress, trying to remember the right words, but nothing came. My heart began to beat faster. I thought, maybe I can't do this. Maybe this is too hard. For a moment, I wanted to tell them I couldn't explain anything else. I felt embarrassed and almost ready to give up. The silence stretched, and the pressure grew heavier. Then, suddenly, a few of the words they had taught me earlier came back to my mind. I remembered history, old tradition, fight, and protect. I took a slow breath and tried again. This fortress is very old. People used it to protect the city. There were many fights here long time ago. It is important for our history and our culture. My voice still sounded unsure, but at least the words were coming out. I saw them nodding, interested, and my confidence grew a little. Feeling braver, I added more details using simple phrases. This tower was for soldiers. They watched the city from here. I drew a big circle in the air with my hand and said, "The view is very good," so they could see danger. Then I used an expression they taught me earlier, peaceful. Now the place is peaceful, but before, it was very strong for war. To my surprise, the group looked impressed. One of them said, "Wow, you explain very well." Hearing that made my chest fill with relief and pride. By the time I finished, something amazing happened. I realized I had done it. I had explained one of the hardest places in the city using only the simple words I knew and the new ones they had taught me. The group clapped softly and smiled as if I were a real guide. I felt lighter, taller, and more confident than ever. I understood that I didn't need perfect English, just courage and creativity. And as we walked away from the fortress, I knew this moment had changed me. I was ready for anything that came next. When we finally reached the last stop of our tour, I felt both tired and excited. The group gathered around me with happy faces, taking photos and looking at the buildings as if they were seeing something magical. I didn't expect them to enjoy the walk this much. I also didn't expect to enjoy speaking English this much. As we stopped near the fountain in the main square, one of them smiled and said, "Thank you for the amazing tour." I almost couldn't believe they were talking to me. They started thanking me one by one, saying things like, "You explained everything so well," and "We understood you perfectly." I felt my face get warm, but in a good way. Hearing those words made my heart feel full. Another person added, "Your simple English helped us learn too." That surprised me even more. I came into this thinking I was the one learning from them, not the other way around. But somehow, my basic phrases and gestures helped them connect with the city. It felt like a true exchange. Then someone said something that I will never forget: "You speak with heart." Those words hit me deeper than any English lesson ever had. Maybe my vocabulary wasn't big, maybe my grammar wasn't perfect, but I tried. I tried hard. And that effort made a difference. I realized that communication is more than perfect sentences, it's about wanting to connect. In that moment, I understood that I had learned more English in one day of walking and talking than in many hours of studying textbooks at home. As the group prepared to leave, they asked for a photo together. I stood in the middle, smiling proudly as they raised their cameras. After the picture, they waved and said,
"Bye,
guide." I laughed. Me? A guide? A few hours ago, I was just walking through the city with no plans. Now I felt like someone who could actually help others, in English. Watching them walk away, I felt a strong sense of accomplishment. It wasn't just about showing them the city. It was about discovering something new inside myself. As I walked home alone, I repeated some of the words they taught me earlier. They came naturally now, almost like they belonged to me. That day changed everything. I didn't just help tourists, I helped myself. I proved that I could learn, communicate, and grow, even with simple English. And for the first time, I felt excited about studying the language. I knew this was only the beginning. With every new word, I would walk a little further, just like I did with them. The adventure was far from over.